Hello guys, this is Zaxter99. Today I'm going to be making a video on, if it's right for you to actually own a bearded dragon. Maybe you go to a pet store like this one, a lot of different pet stores out there, and you find a cute little baby bearded dragon like this one here. This is actually my bearded dragon when I first got him, and, uh, you know, I didn't know a whole lot about bearded dragons when I got them. And I did learn the hard way, and so what I'm making this video for is to hopefully prevent you from learning the hard way as well. When I first started, I bought a kit much like this one, and it looked like it had everything that you needed right there in the pet store, but I quickly found out after doing a little bit of research online that this is a big no-no. And the reason it's a big no-no is the stuff, especially in these Zilla bearded dragon kits, contains lighting that can actually kill or make your bearded dragon very sick. Uh, Basically, it's junk. Maybe the tank's okay itself, but I learned this at this website here, beardeddragon.org. This is where I learned a lot of my information on actually owning and caring for a bearded dragon. And you can go to this website. It's free to use. And right here, you'll see articles like this one on everything you need to care for your bearded dragon. Lots of different articles on everything from brumation to impaction, different diseases and sicknesses, how to know if your bearded dragon's happy. On these forums here, you'll see all kinds of different subjects that you can go into. Besides the numerous articles on how to care for your bearded dragon, absolutely phenomenal site, and I can't encourage you to actually visit this site enough, whether you already own a bearded dragon or whether you're thinking about getting one now. Here we're looking at just the beardy ER, so you can post if you're having any kind of emergency symptoms or you're worried about your bearded dragon. You can post your own thread, your own topic, explain what's going on, and there's going to be people there are other bearded dragon owners as well. Even moderators can respond and try to help you out, try to tell you what to do. Maybe they've experienced the same thing, and it's a great resource for you. Here somebody's asking, don't know if their bearded dragon has died, and people are responding, and they're very encouraging, very nice people on this website. I love it. Another thing about bearded dragons, is you don't have to fear them. A lot of bearded dragons are really nice. They certainly don't breathe fire. And a lot of them, as long as you care for them for when they're a baby, they're going to be very friendly and very gentle. Just like this one. And bearded dragons, great. A lot of people want to know if a bearded dragon makes a great pet. Absolutely, they do. I think they're very entertaining to watch. They're very cute, especially when they're little. And, they don't require a whole lot of care. You have to feed them basically, and you have to give them baths, twice a week or something like that. Make sure they stay hydrated. But beyond that, it's just a matter of that first time you get a bearded dragon, make sure you get the right kit, make sure you get the right lighting for them. You need UV lighting, you need a heat lamp for them, and you need an adequate sized terrarium or a tank to put them in. Here's a picture of me holding Rocky, my bearded dragon, when we first got him. And such a cute little devil, and I mean, they're so easy to fall in love with. I wasn't sure that I'd want a bearded dragon when my wife suggested it, but absolutely fell in love with these guys, about 8 or 9 months ago when we got him. It didn't take long. Now, one of the first things you might want to know when you get a bearded dragon, a little baby one, is if it's a boy or a girl. You're not going to be able to tell this probably until the bearded dragon's at least about 2.5, 3 months old. Usually they have to be about 12 inches in length, I believe, maybe 10 inches in length. But when you lift up their tail, you want to gently do this. You'll see two bumps if it's a boy, or just one visible bump if it's a girl. If you don't see these bumps, it's probably not mature enough yet for you to tell. So just check again later. Bearded dragons are absolutely entertaining. Here, my bearded dragon is doing a dance on the outside. He did this all the time when he was little. Just such a cute little guy. And, they don't just sit in the tank, like maybe a turtle might, or, even we had guinea pigs in the past. And I think this bearded dragon is much more entertaining than a bearded dragon. Here he's jumping, and I slow it down here in a second and show you him jumping. I do want to go ahead and mention right here that this sand is a loose substrate. You don't want to use any kind of a loose, small substrate like this when your bearded dragon is young. This is one of the big mistakes I made when I first bought him, and I listened to the sales lady at the store. Going back, bearded dragons have a lot of personality. Granted, this is the only bearded dragon I've ever owned. Maybe I just got a special one, but I don't think so. I think they're all going to be pretty cute. Here he's in our tank and trying to jump up on the glass. And I like the way he runs there. It's kind of like a little, I don't know, kind of like a stiff, like he's got spunk or something. But yeah, definitely cute little devils. And when they grow up, as they get older, they continue to have character. And our bearded dragon is almost full grown now, and he still dances and still walks around, still looks like he has, personality and character. They're just a lot of fun. Now, one thing you do want to do when you get a bearded dragon is you do want to realize how much it costs. Not just for the initial tank to get the lighting correct, buy the right heat lamps and everything like that, but feeding a bearded dragon, much like here, can be overwhelming, especially when they're babies. They eat a lot of protein. When they're babies, they need about 80% protein to about 20% fresh vegetables. And when they get older and they're an adult, it switches around. It reverses to about 80% vegetables, which is cheap, and 20% protein, which is live bugs and insects. Okay. Here you see them eating some crickets, and when they're little like this, they can eat a ton of live bugs. Here I'm feeding him some dubia roaches, one of the best insects you can actually give your pet. If you have dubia roaches available, you can breed them yourself to save on the expense. Still, it's going to cost you some money to buy the adults and get them breeding, and a little bit of work there. I suggest you read into it before you actually make an investment in a bearded dragon, because if you're not willing to breed insects yourself, a young bearded dragon, just one, can run you three, four, even $500 a month just in bugs if you're feeding them correctly. They suggest on these forums that here he's actually standing up in a picture that I took, kind of looking like Mr. Cool. Again, some of their personality. But bearded dragons can eat as many as 60, 70 live bugs in a 15-minute setting. Here, a bearded dragon is a little bit older, and he's doing a wave. He's doing some waves as he crawls up on a new log that we put into the cage. Uh, just fascinating creatures. Now, when you're buying your items to set up your first reptile tank for your bearded dragon, I recommend buying all the items separately. Again, don't buy one of those kits because you're probably going to get some stuff in there you just don't want. You want at least about a 20-gallon tank when they're a baby to start them off, nothing smaller. And I recommend at least a 55-gallon tank as an adult, if not bigger. I'd prefer 75. We got a 60, but you want to go as big as you can when they're an adult. Now, UV lighting, you want to buy a UV light. It's a tube style light. I want to say that again, a tube style light. And I recommend the Reptisun by ZoomEd. It's a Reptisun 10.0 tube style UV light. Very important. Here I am petting my bearded dragon Rocky when he's a baby and he's asleep on my chest. Now here's a point. The Rocky was about as close to I've ever seen him doing a black beard. We haven't really seen him do any kind of black bearding, but he was upset here when we were vacuuming. And bearded dragons do show, when they're upset by doing their black beard, and that's one way that they can actually show you that they're either threatened, or they're not happy, or that they're sick. Here's a picture of a bearded dragon with a partial black beard. Obviously, he's feeling threatened, it looks like in the picture, a sign that you might want to back off. I've never been bitten by our bearded dragon. I've never seen this. This is a full black beard on a bearded dragon. And if you see this on your bearded dragon and it stays there, it's not like a thread or somebody's, motioning or something like that, definitely a time to call a vet. You've probably got a sick bearded dragon. Here's our bearded dragon Rocky, the same bearded dragon you saw earlier. Almost full grown. He's about 8 months old here, maybe 9 months old. And still, as you can see, entertaining to watch. Here is what you call gapping or gaping, depending on how you pronounce it. It's when they're basically cooling off. It's their way to cool off, shows they're a little bit warm. So that's what you'll see when they're a little bit warmer. And that's not a bad sign. You just don't want to see this all the time. I mean, it's perfectly normal to see this. Here's our bearded dragon again, almost fully grown, over 20 inches in length, doing a dance. And just now, one thing I've also noticed, I think this actually means that your bearded dragon is happy if you see this kind of thing. I've noticed that he tends to do this more when me and my family is in the same room as him. Whether we're watching TV or just talking or whatever. It seems like we see this a lot more when we're in there with him than, if we, are all doing our own thing and not in the same room. But definitely a lot of fun. you can definitely learn to love a bearded dragon for sure. I know that when bearded dragons are young, you want to try to make sure you buy a good heat lamp. You don't want to make sure that they're not colored lamps. You want it to be a clear white lamp. Uh, and when they're babies, you want that heat lamp to be able to heat the tank up to about 105 up to 110 degrees for their basking spot. On the cool side, you want it between 80 and 85. As long as you're within a few degrees of this, you're going to be okay. When they get older, it doesn't need to be as hot in their basking spot. Anywhere from 95 to about 102 or so is a perfect basking temperature. And again, the cool side, you want around 80 degrees. At night, your temperature in your tank can get all the way down to about 60, 65 degrees, and that's going to be fine. For that. So what you want to do is make sure you turn all the lamps off at night. You probably want to give them about 10 to 12 hours of sleep per night and let them sleep and make sure that they're refreshed and get all their energy back so that they can entertain you the next day. For a substrate, what I prefer in my experience is just buying this reptile carpet. As you see there, it's a green carpet. It's easy to pull out and wash because your bearded dragon is going to, have accidents on your carpet, and they pretty much go anywhere. I've seen them actually go right in his food. You want to make sure that they have fresh vegetables and water every day in their tank. For vegetables, we switch between collard greens and mustard greens. There's a lot of vegetables you don't want to use for your bearded dragon, such as like lettuce and spinach and stuff like that. And again, you can read all this on the forums at beardeddragons.org. Highly encourage you to do that. Here he is again when he's little, kind of taking king of the rock. Nice high perch. Here again he is sleeping on my chest. And such a cute little devil. The whole family loves him. And, as long as you can figure out, whether you're going to breed insects yourself or whether you're going to buy them, and if you can afford to buy them, if you're going to be buying all your insects at the start, expect about 6 months of spending probably at least $250 a month on insects if you're going to be buying them. And that's, so one thing you don't want to do, I see a lot of people do it, is they see these cute little guys and they'll go out and they'll buy 2 or 3 of them because they're so darn cute in the pet store, and they'll try to stick them all in one's tank. You don't want to do that because they're very solitary creatures. Bearded dragons like to be in a cage all by themselves. You don't want to be mixing these dragons, unless you're going to be breeding them. I haven't done any breeding. If you're going to be breeding bearded dragons, you need to read up on that. But still, you're not going to want to put multiple bearded dragons in the same tank, especially males. You could wind up with a dead bearded dragon in the morning. Another thing, when you're feeding bearded dragons, pretty much any kind of insect, especially crickets, you want to make sure that you get any insects out that your bearded dragon doesn't eat. You need to make sure those are taken out of the cage, because at night your bearded dragon could be asleep and crickets can bite. And they could actually bite your bearded dragon and kill your bearded dragon. I've actually read about that on the forums. So be sure that you're taking care to not leave any insects in your terrarium with your bearded dragon after you feed them. So be sure you do that. And I can't encourage the website www.beardeddragon.org enough. Highly encourage you to check that website out. Post as a new visitor. Whether you already have a bearded dragon or whether you're thinking about getting your very first one. Many very friendly, very helpful people on those forums can help you out and make sure that you're doing right. Make sure you're going to have a healthy and happy bearded dragon. If you guys have any questions, anything at all, I'm here to help. I'm going to encourage you to also post on the beardeddragon.org forums. But be sure you go ahead and leave me a comment as well as whether this video has helped you at all. If you have any more questions, what you'd like to see from me, please give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down, whether you like or dislike this video. And make sure, if you're looking for more videos like this, you check out my already existing videos of Rocky. There's plenty of them already on my channel. But be sure you subscribe so that you can see any more videos that I might make in the future, whether it be about bearded dragons or whether it be about something else that might interest you. Also, be sure you send this video to anybody that you think might enjoy it, or that it might help them with their bearded dragon, or with their thoughts of buying a bearded dragon. I do want to go ahead and thank you again for watching. This has been Zaxter99, and I hope that you and your bearded dragon have a very happy life.